Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT. Y'all have seen this face before. If you listening, you have heard this voice before. My brother, hopefully to have him on way more times with the season started. David Thompson is in the building. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's opening week this week, so we got a whole summer ahead of us. Hopefully, a lot of good basketball in front of us. So I'm excited as always, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and I don't even think that's a hopefully. With all that's happened in the offseason, all the trades, all the moves, it's definitely going to be a locked in great season. I feel it outside even, the top three teams, Aces, you got the Liberty, and then, of course, you always got the Mystics with their chemistry. I think is that other half right there is going to be a battle fighting for it. Speaking of, though, so this crazy summer, we had college, most viewed game ever. You had the draft went well. A lot of people tapped in to view the draft. Where do you think and how do you feel about the game of basketball for the women and the direction that it's headed in?
It's only up, honestly. Continue to grow. I think the college interest is only going to spill over as these young ladies, go into the league and kind of like have their fan bases come. Those institutions on the college side are huge. So I can't assume that that the following will stop supporting them once they're done with college. Like that's like a lifelong affiliation right there. And outside of the college game itself, I think the commissioner for the W, Kathy Engelbert, I think she just has like really good intentions for the league, and a really good plan at this point. Like she mentioned, like a lot of things that each individual team is doing to grow. Last weekend they had their first game up in Canada that sold out, so that was a big deal. So I think that alone kind of put them on the map for an expansion. So it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, I really hope on that aspect too. I really hope they have an expansion because the thing that's crazy that a lot of people don't realize, the draft. Everybody's excited. Oh, this person this person got drafted. Your spot, unless you like the Aaliyah Bostons of the world, your spot is not guaranteed. There's people getting cut leading up to the opening game because they only have a certain amount of teams, certain amount of roster spots available, and they got to cut people. So I really hope they, which I think they're going to do, they'll have some expansion teams because it's players that now got to go overseas. Or we had somebody on a couple weeks ago that was telling us one of their friends had to go back and get a regular job because they got cut. They had to stay ready, and they got called on later in the season. But that's the tough part of the W. Like people don't really understand like how hard of a grind it is to make a WNBA roster.
And not for sure. I mean, because in the league is 15 spots and 30 teams. Like even if they started off by adding 3 extra roster spots for the existing teams, that would help significantly. And of course, expansion will help. But it is tough. I mean, luckily there are a lot of leagues in the world. But I think people and their mentality going overseas is a little daunting still. I mean, granted, thank God Brittany's back home, but I think that's not gonna be forgotten very quickly. So I think people are always gonna think twice. But luckily, there are a lot of opportunities. But hopefully, within the next decade, we can see those expansions happen and more people get an opportunity to play domestic basketball.
Facts for you. A lot has happened in the off season. The New York Liberty is basically a super team. The Aces are a super team. Can't forget the Mystics in the mix. Which team do you think actually got the most better this offseason? Like which team improved the most?
I mean, obviously the Aces. I mean, it was already a lot prior. I don't know if people remember, but the playoffs last year, like Chelsea Gray won on like a crazy, like almost like a Jordan-like scoring run. So like to have her come back, and then they add Alysha Clark, who left DC to come over, and Candace Parker. So I mean, they had like a little preseason matchup with the Liberty that was if that's what they did to Liberty in preseason, it's just like all right. But yeah, they're definitely tough to beat. It's a lot of teams that gotta find like their rhythm going forward. Like LA has kind of reconstructed. They're a little bit more stable than last year. Atlanta added Alysha Gray from Dallas, and then I think who Dallas had a lot of turnover. So Isabel Harrison, she left Dallas and went to Chicago. So there's a lot of movement. So I think teams got to kind of like gel and kind of like develop that chemistry. But once they do, it'll be interesting. But it's going to be very, very hard to beat the Aces consistently.
I can't see it happening, man. Like at one point during the game, right? It's just like Becky Hammond calls a timeout and they just go on a 9-0 run. Like they just lock in. You can't stop that it's too many buckets around that whole roster. Like, yes, they play defense, but at any, like, literally all of them can go get 20 in a single night, literally. And the thing is, like you said, they have the whole returning squad basically. You added more talent to that. So like Beckham was talking about it. Hey, the Liberty, yeah, we beat them, but you know, they still got to figure stuff out. Like they're coming together, but we just added to it. And that's what's scary. That's what's I don't see how anybody beats the Aces in a series. You might beat them in the regular season, you might catch them, but in a series,
I'm honestly hoping that they're having, like, I hope this is the WNBA's like 90's Bulls moment. Like, I really do hope that they're a dynasty and they rattle off 4 or 5. Because outside of just like the game on the court, like I think what they're doing as far as like how they run their organization, like, you know, over the summer they became the first like organization to have like their own facility. Like that's not affiliated with any of the males facility. Like Candace Parker said, she's like, I've never had a locker room, like my own locker room in my whole career, which is insane. Like one of the best players in the league, not have, you know, just that own personal space in an arena or an opportunity to get some work in late night. So I think it's nice to see what they're doing. You know, Tom Brady came on as far as ownership. I think Mark Davis, you know, bringing the first championship to Vegas is only going to incentivize him to want to do more to kind of make it a premier thing. Because I feel like, you know, the vibe out there is completely different. I've gotten a chance to go to some games out there. And I do like their fan base. Like I do like the community that they have. I think in certain markets, like there's so many things going on. Mind you, there's a lot going on in Vegas, but I think they really do prioritize what they've got and they understand that. So they're really trying to make sure it grows into something huge.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm like, if I got an opportunity, I'm going to play for the Aces. That's has to be the best ran organization, bro. Like literally the best ran organization. And you got Mark Davis, who is not short on cash and is a believer in it. So with that, with the back end, I mean, there was even rumors that he was paying people under the table. Go for it, Mark Davis. Do your thing, man. Like, I don't see nothing wrong with it. They deserve to have that money. Shoot, even you see now that they're going to have more flights going to be chartered. It's not going to be, you know, they're just hopping on planes at JFK, just in the regular line, hopping on with everybody else. So I think that's great. I think it's heading in the right direction. Based off the draft, is it safe to say, do you see anybody else possibly getting Rookie of the Year out of Aaliyah Boston? I mean, she's the on odds favorite everywhere. Vegas, newspapers, everywhere.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's the girls in Dallas, they might have a chance. I think you know, Haley Jones, depending on how her offense goes and like her role in Atlanta. But it's like I don't think it's a runaway for Aaliyah. I think she's gonna have some growing pains. Like I was watching a game where the Fever were playing Dallas, and she ran into Tierra McCowan. And Tierra McCowan is a big woman, so it's so interesting to see Aaliyah dominate on a college level for so long, but then run into somebody like a Tierra McCowan and she looked like a rookie. So it's like, all right, like, you know, you're going to have your growing pains and you still got to develop. Like, yeah, you had unprecedented success on the collegiate level, but this is still another level of basketball. So I wouldn't say it's a lock right away. Like Maddie Siegrist, I think she has an opportunity, especially because that Dallas squad, like they have so much turnover. Like there's a lot of like roles open. So I think Maddie Siegrist could kind of find her way and put up some buckets. So I wouldn't say Aaliyah's a lock, but she definitely is the favorite.
Yeah, I'd have to say watching her so far, like you said, is different level to it. And that was one of the problem, not even problem. The thing that the conversation was with her was how her offense was going to translate. We know she could play defense, how her offense was going to translate, because on that team with South Carolina, Dawn Staley, they pretty much had a balanced attack. We're going to get whoever best shots possible now on this level. How does she translate with that? So it's very intriguing. I'm very locked in to see who wins Rookie of the Year this year, who balls out, the dark horse type of teams. For you, who do you see as like we mentioned the top 3, right? So outside of the top 3, who are some of the teams where you're like, hey, if they get their chemistry going, if they get things flowing, they could actually be a dark horse team to make a run?
I think the Fever are a lot better than they were last year. And granted, last year I didn't watch too much of them once Mitchell went down. But like coming back this year, Melissa Smith, like she had like a really good run in Athletes Unlimited. which I'm not sure what the relationship is to the NBA, but like during the offseason, like a lot of girls that didn't want to go overseas, like they were playing the Athletes Unlimited. And it's a very interesting style of like basketball. So I hope it continues, and I hope that's like where they get their secondary opportunities, like in the offseason. But she had an amazing season with Athletes Unlimited. She came back into the regular season ready to go. So I could see her being one of like the primary bucket getters for Indiana. Mitchell's healthy now. So I think that Indiana team is going to be a lot better. Again, Dallas, like I was big on Dallas, like last year, they were half away from beating Connecticut. If everything, I think Isabel Harrison had tweaked her ankle in the second half. As she had stayed healthy, it would have been a lot different. So Dallas is still in the mix. BG, I think once she gets back up to speed, she's still a dominant force. Like even seeing her in preseason, like it was like you could tell she needs to get like conditioning and just get rhythm back. But it's not a lot of people who can really stop her still. So I would say it's a couple of teams that could definitely make a push and kind of like be spoilers. But again, I think that top is very safe right now.
Oh, the top for sure. I think to your point, I like to see DT and BG like go on a nice little run. To me, they're kind of like, because of the chemistry they have and they both really aren't stoppable. Even DT at her age of what, 40, 41 years old now? The IQ and still being able to, I'm going to get to my spots and she's a bucket, and BG, there's no real answer for her. That kind of reminds me of like Lakers with AD and Bron. Like we know very much each other's game. We have a chemistry. Y'all can't do nothing about it. If we get in the right position, right matchup, they can make a run. I don't know about to the championship because you see the Aces is still going to be a problem. But I think they'll make some noise if they could get, like you said, she got to get her rhythm back, her conditioning. She was in jail for a minute, so like I get it. She get it back. I could see them in the right situation. They can make some noise.
I mean, ultimately though, I will say as like how we were saying, like that top three though, like really don't sleep on the Mystic. Like Shakira Austin had an amazing season. I think she was playing in Israel with Alysha Clark. I think they won the championship over there. I think her expanded role over there, like everybody was kind of worried about like the decline of Deladon. Like if Deladon can keep her production kind of consistent and they allow Shakira Austin to kind of just flourish, I think the sky is really the limit for the Mystic. Like I really thought they were going to be in the championship with the Aces last year. So they kind of, not necessarily underperformed in my opinion, but I think this year between her, Cloud, I think they really have an opportunity to go all the way. So I wouldn't sleep on the Mystic, honestly.
I really like the Mystic squad, and like that's a veteran team. They've been playing with each other so long. I can see definitely them having an impact because honestly, we really be honest, they right now to me have the edge over the Liberty because the Liberty still got to figure everything out. What lineups work best? How do you get everybody involved? You saw part of the Aces game. They still get Sabrina with the handoff. Like they're still getting the playbook down, figuring out where this person likes the ball at. Where should we put it at? So I think they're gonna have a little bit of learning curve. It's gonna take a little bit. Granted, there are more games this season, which I think is great. I'm glad there's more games that they added to the schedule. But I will put the Mystics above them right now.
Same.
So that's how I see it. We definitely, hopefully, schedule will bear it, that we will be locking in throughout the season, giving updates, checking in, all-star picks, all that good stuff. Since I have you on, like I said, before the show started, there's not many people that I can talk basketball with. We had one of our OGs on, and he said, you can't talk basketball with everybody. You just can't. Everybody doesn't have the knowledge. Everybody doesn't have the IQ. And I've told you before, and I'll tell you again, because I got no problem giving people their flowers. On the court, playing with you, always love playing with you because the IQ was always there. Always there. So, of course, got you on NBA playoffs. What are you seeing? Who are you picking? We got the bubble rematch essentially, basically. So all that, the bubble was a fluke. Hey, those same four teams are right back in that same situation. What are you seeing so far in the playoffs, man?
It's been an amazing postseason. I think every round is, provided what it was supposed to. Like that first round is just supposed to be madness, and then like the semis, everybody's refining a little bit more. I'm just happy. I'm a Bron guy through and through at this point. Like I want to see, him go off into the sunset. Just continue to stack the accolades and just provide great basketball. Because I think what people don't realize is like the void on the other side. Like, okay, like there's a lot of young guys who are kind of solidifying their spots in the league. Like Jason Tatum, bona fide star at this point. Like a lot of people are kind of cementing that. But on the back end, once these guys are like these kids got to develop still. So I'm hoping that there's a lot of good basketball that follows. But I'm like, hey, while the movie's still good, like I want Bron every night at that 10:30 slot. Like I need good basketball. So I think it's gonna be interesting. I think I could see Miami, Boston going 7 again, honestly. You can't the Heat, there's no rhyme or reason to that team. There's just grit. Like it's like that's all that really matters. It's like that culture is like, all right, we understand, we're not the most skilled and we don't have, what they I think they have like 9 undrafted players on that roster, but it does not matter. Like Spo's gonna get them ready. Like, they're gonna be ready as far as like their assignments, understanding what they have to do. Honestly, I think the X factor in that series is going to be the 5 matchup. Like Caldwell, Horford, and Adebayo kind of go at it. Like Adebayo, he's had his ups and downs, but like there's going to have to be a series where he is like a dog. Like I think if Miami really wants to go to that level, like Jimmy's going to do what he got to do. Even like Lowry off the bench is still giving me that championship pedigree. But I want to see Bam really take it to that next level if they're going to be a championship team. Because Boston, I think they're kind of going back to where they were midseason, where they're with that 1 seed. It's like, last night they were rattling off threes. It's like, all right, you get the ball out of Tatum's hands, you get it to Smart, 1 swing pass, you still got Brogdon, you still got White, you still got Horford. So it's like that offense, when they really are operating at the highest level, it's like it's tough. And then defensively, they're going to do what they have to do. So it'll be a dogfight. But yeah, I think Adebayo is really going to have to step up if they want to really have a chance to make it to the finals.
Yo, I was saying this the other day. Miami, I was going to ask you answered it without me asking it. The success is just grit. that's really what it boils down to. You got no Oladipo. You ain't got no Tyler Hero, who was the second leading scorer for the team. Basically, sometimes if Jimmy was off, that was the person that was closing the game out. And they are back in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's grit. And that's, to your point, Spo has to be in the top 2-3 of coaches because he has, like you said, undrafted players. But the thing about Spo is he's not stuck on his system. So I'm going to put everybody in position to succeed at what you do best and what the team needs. The dude pulls Duncan Robinson off the bench for a couple of games and Duncan goes and gets some three. Like Spo knows how to push the buttons at the right time. I don't even know why. I was hopeful because when the Knicks are good, it's great for basketball.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I should have known better to pick the Knicks.
I think it's a couple of things with New York. I think they got some roster things to figure out. But I was one of those guys who was kind of skeptical about that Brunson deal at the beginning of the year. I thought that money was a lot, but hey, I have nothing to say at this point. 40-point games, 30-point games. Like Brunson is the cornerstone. Hey, but the Knicks haven't had a go-to guard in a long time. So maybe even ever. Honestly, if he continues to play at this pace, like he's putting himself in a position to be right next to Clyde Frazier as the best Knick guard. So it's like, because I think his ceiling, Marbury wasn't getting you into the postseason like that. It's like, and after Marbury, who was really like the most like, yeah. So I think he could really finish his career if he stays in New York, being one of the better guards that they've had historically. But I mean, they kind of, and who knows what happens if Randall doesn't get hurt. But then again, Randall still has some things to figure out with his game. RJ, I always joke, I'm like, RJ for the whole summer should just be right-handed. Like, just do everything with your right hand. Like, you just, because that's the only thing that's missing. Like, there's so many plays where he's just on the right side of the court and he's forcing his way back to the left. And it's like, you might take an extra dribble or you just might go into the defense to finish left one. It's just like, yo, use your right hand, man. So the Knicks, they'll be back. The East is up for grabs right now. A lot of teams are asking a lot of tough questions. Milwaukee's asking questions. Philly's asking questions. So I think the Knicks, if they just kind of focus, and their management's been doing a lot better, I think they have an opportunity to stay within the top 5 of the East. They'll figure it out. Yeah, everybody in the league is asking a lot of questions right now. So this whole thing is up for grabs.
I completely agree. I really think RJ, he out of Brunson, he was the most consistent in this playoffs. To your point, though, he does have to get a right hand. When my boy Greg sees this, he's going to like send you money because he's been saying that since Barrett has gotten to the league that he has no right hand, and that's his thing that pisses him off, that he has no right hand. So that I can definitely say, Randall is such a up and down for me. It's like you give certain games where it's like, yo, you and Brunson, that would be it. Y'all just need one more piece. That's a dynamic duo. And then it's games where it's like, I see why Kobe wanted you out. I can, I see it.
I would say Julius is not so much the skill set at this point. It's his mind. Like he really has to just kind of like, the plays where you seen a couple of possessions in that fourth quarter of the Heat game where like they'll get a stop and his shoulders are dropped. Or even that play where Brunson was looking for him in the lane. He just didn't cut hard enough. Like, yeah, Brunson had Hart at the top and he could have kicked, but Hart wasn't shooting the best. So I understand the reluctance to make that pass. And Julius dived through the lane, but you didn't dive like it's the fourth quarter and you wanted that bucket. Like, so it's like those little things are what's going to separate you from getting to the next level. Like, even last night when, or yesterday afternoon when the Celtics were playing, like, first quarter you see Brown diving, first quarter you see Smart diving. So it's like, it's another level of intensity. And I think people always forget that. Like the casual fan or people who just watch it in the regular season, they always forget how much the intensity kind of picks up every round. And that's why the playoffs are like my favorite time of the year, because I love ugly basketball. Like I love when it gets down to it's just like you're gonna have to really be a basketball player to figure it out. So I think we've gotten a lot of that in the offseason. I mean, not offseason, the postseason. So I'm happy it's this way. I'm looking forward to the LA Denver series. I still personally think that LA has their heart from the bubble. I know it's a different team. The core is different, but it's when you see LeBron James, you see LeBron James. So
That's why people not, they call me a homer and whatnot, but I'm like, I still see Lakers in 6. They don't have an answer really for AD. Bron, even with, because I think he still has that foot injury is lingering. Even with that, the IQ still. And I take the Lakers others, I believe in them more than the Nuggets others. So when it comes down to it, I can see the Lakers in 6. And I think Nikola still gets his buckets. Nicola's still gonna probably put up triple doubles, but he can't really stop AD. And Michael Porter Jr. on the stage with the brightest lights, is he shooting like that?
he's got better. He shoots a lot better, and he defends a lot better than he did a couple years back. I'm gonna give Denver their credit. Like this isn't both of these teams are not the teams they were in the bubble. And I think the X factor is KCP. Like I used to joke throughout the season. I'm like, I'm pretty sure LeBron misses KCP a lot. KCP, he's a championship guard at this point. Like he knows how to get to that level. So it's like, all right, will the others on LA be ready for him? Like, I mean, I know he's not like a world class like scorer, but KCP on that corner waiting for that kick out 9 times out of 10, more times than not, he's gonna knock it down. So I think he's kind of an X factor. And then Murray's himself again. So I don't think it's gonna be. I think it might go 6 or 7 easily. I don't know which way it's going. I'm hoping for the Lakers, but I have absolutely no clue which way it's going to bounce. I wanted to ask you though, I know the rumors are always, flying around about the offseason and Kyrie to LA, but do you think they should just be content with D'Lo? Like the way everything is kind of going, do you think they should just let this team kind of gel and have like a full training camp together?
I think so. Because the other thing that factors into that is you got to pay Kyrie what you're not going to have to pay D'Lo. Keep D'Lo, let have a full training camp. Bron was averaging 30 before that foot injury in January, some people forget. Let them heal up, have a full training camp, and you could probably add a couple pieces here and there and go with that. I think them as a full season, full training camp, that's a top 3 seed in the West. They did the trade way too late. And they was in this position of being in a playing game, but I don't think you add Kyrie to that mix next season.
I've seen somewhere. I think it's been a while since they've lost a home game too. So I think that's the thing that people are not really talking about. Like Lakers aren't losing at home. I mean, yeah, they don't have home court advantage, but every series they've managed to go get one on the road. So it's like if they get home court and bring it back, like people have to really understand how to like win in LA. And I think it's the combination of the team itself and the fact that they haven't had playoff, like they didn't get a chance to have that bubble run in LA. So I think the fact that they have it now, like they're really in front of them. So I think it's going to be tough. But it's going to be a great conference finals on both sides. I'm in heaven, honestly. Like, I have no complaints.
Yo, that's the other thing is like they didn't even get to have a parade or nothing like that because it was during that time. So the fans are loving it. The fans are doing a great job playing for Crypto Arena. Like they're like you said, they haven't lost in the
Yeah, it's
playoffs.
been a while. I think it's like sometime in March. I think like March 26th or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a long time to not lose at home. So whatever they got cooking up. And I think one thing that as the season progressed, people really, in the beginning of the season, questions were out there, but Darvin Ham, you really have to like, he went up against one of the best coaches in the league and was matching him, adjustment for adjustment. So I think people really need to understand, that he's kind of a solid coach, and it's really tough coaching LeBron. So for him to be in this situation year one after the start they had, like you really got to tip your hat to him. But we'll see. Everything kicks off tomorrow night. So let's just take it from there.
The players definitely respect him and they want to play for him. You see AD how he talks about him. You see how Bron talks about him. My questions going into the playoffs was his X's and O's and his adjustments. I think he's answered that because outside of that, he's the leader of men that you want. He's the motivational speaker. He has all the cliches and all that good stuff to say, and they feed into it. I mean, even the trade happened, but he was able to get Russ to come off the bench. And Russ is doing pretty well off the bench.
Yeah.
That's Darvin Ham. Like, you got to get that. That's Darvin Ham because Frank Vogel was somewhere like, bro, I couldn't get you to come off the bench. What? Now you're okay being on the bench? Frank Vogel was somewhere like, where was this at? So shout out to Darvin Ham. And to your point, not only KCP, but Bruce Brown, those two, I think are going to be the biggest X factors for them because KCP championship, Bruce Brown, he did this when he was on the Nets. He did this now with the Nuggets. He fits in anywhere. Put him with some stars, and Bruce Brown is going to do anything and everything. I'm gonna go get rebounds. I'm gonna go play defense. He's diving for the loose balls. He's hitting the corner three. Those two, huge. I think those two are gonna be the X factor. And for the Lakers, gonna be like Austin Reeves, Vando. You're gonna need to show up defensively and be able to hit a couple of those corner threes. They was able to get past the series, but you not knocking them down. This series, you gotta give me like 2 or 3 a game. That's how I see it going. I think it is really going to be a good series. It shouldn't be any. I don't see it being any blowouts. I don't see it being anything crazy. Like we was talking about in the chat today, like, oh, somebody was like, AD is going to really expose Jokic.
We hope, but it's gonna be tough. Jokic is not. I think that's
what I'm saying. I just want to be competitive. I don't see that happening in this season, this postseason that people not talking about. When Nikola wants to lock in on defense, he's locked in on defense this postseason. You won't put him on your all defensive team, but he's locked in a couple of times defensively.
But that's the funny thing about it. Is like, all right, so you got guys like Rudy who get their DPOI, but then when the postseason comes, like there's nobody targeting Jokic. Like, there's nobody asking for that pick and roll to get him 35 feet from the basket just to abuse him. So that's the thing. It's like he's not a target. So it's like, and I think, Mike Malone's a good coach too. Like that's the thing. It's like they understand what they need to do. Like you said, that corner three, I mean, that's kind of been like the biggest thing I've seen in the postseason, like just teams scheming to get the weakest shooter into that corner three. And it's like somebody's gonna have to hit some. Like PJ Tucker yesterday is just like for the last couple of games, it's like the game 6 where they were up and they kind of fell apart in that final 6 minutes. And B didn't touch the ball, and it was like, all right, Tucker, you gotta give somebody something. So it's like that shot right now in the postseason, like is gonna be there. So those guys, like you said, the Vandos of the world, like everybody who's gonna have that Aaron Gordon's of the world, is like y'all really got to be in the corner and just kind of getting shots up because it's gonna be there for you. So if you're not prepared, that's a couple of empty possessions for your team in a time where you need everyone. So
every single possession. You brought up Philly, and I want to close out and asking your thoughts on it. And B comes out and says, they need help outside of him and Hart, and nobody else showed up, even though those two in game 7 went 5 for 6,000.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Philly, and what do you think actually needs to be done with Philly? I've seen everything from fire Doc. I've seen trade Hart. And what do you think is actually the problem going on in Philly?
Well, I think they need to get healthy. I think Embiid definitely was playing hurt a majority of the playoffs. So hopefully, off season he gets healthy and just understands how to maintain and manage his body for a postseason run. I think Maxey is going to have to kind of be the the point guard going forward. Honestly, like James is that game one gave you some hope, like kind of getting what he did what he had to do while Embiid was out. But I don't know, he just doesn't have that bounce anymore. When he beats people, it's just he can't really elevate. He really doesn't have that first step anymore. And then Embiid, I'm not sure if it was how Boston was scheming. I mean, there was some moments where there was Williams to the left and then Brown to the right when Horford was in front of him. But he starts a lot of his possessions like 10, 15 feet from the basket. Like I want to see him like you're 280. Like why can't you just start from the block? So I think that's the thing. Like yes, he has a mid-post jump shot, but Embiid is going to have to go back to the block and learn how to really eat on the block if they want to. Because that's why I didn't feel as dominant as a Shaq or somebody like that. Like you weren't moving Shaq off the block, so I was kind of confused about that a lot. I was just like, yo, like why can't Embiid start his possessions 4-6 feet from the basket? Why are you always mid-post getting pushed out? So I think that's the thing. He's going to have to really understand how to really use his body. He's a big person, so dominate if you want to be a dominant force. But they had a great season. I'm happy he finally got his MVP. But they got to go back and retool if they want to take it to that next level.
I say the same thing every time I watch Philly. I say it about him. I say it about Cat. I can't understand the bigs that love to settle for the jump shots. It was a couple of possessions, and I know you've seen it throughout the series. Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart end up on Joel Embiid, and he ends up with a fadeaway.
I get it. Like it's a clear like that you can see over them. I get the logic for them, but it's like you got to punish people.
It's too often. Exactly. You got to punish. It's way too often that is the jump shot settling for. I can't comprehend it. Like Shaq, Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing. Yes, even Patrick Ewing. Them guards, after some point, is like, nah, I'm not switching and taking that chance. I'm gonna get punished. I feel they took too many times settling for jumpers. This is how I see it going. I'd love to see Lakers Celtics final, get a little get back on Boston, get another championship for the Lakers. And honestly,
somebody got to get it because you guys, I think, are tied all time right now.
Yeah, and honestly, this might be just not a popular opinion. I think that'd be their best chance to win. I don't want to see Miami in the finals and a Jimmy Butler hungry to get his first ring. Oh no, because I feel like Boston, we might be able to catch them a couple games because they rely on that three so much that they might be off. That's where I feel hope in that regard. Miami, I don't know if Darvin Ham can outcoach Spo. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I think, the coaching might be, and that's the thing, like, I didn't even think about, like, Mazzulla, this might be Mazzulla's biggest test on the X's and O side. Yeah. But, I mean, either way, like that, a bubble final rematch, Twitter will go crazy if they get that one more time. So, I mean, either way, as long as the Lakers are there, that's how I really feel, honestly. Like, I do want to see Bron just have another opportunity. And at that point, what do you say? Because I think this would be his 11th or 12th finals.
11th.
So it's like, at that point, what do you even say when you get that far that many times? But we were talking about just the post touches. That's the one thing I will give AD credit for. Like, yeah, AD will get his jump shots, but like, there's a lot of plays where Reeves is just tossing it to him and his feet are too deep in the paint. Mm-hmm. So I respect the fact that and AD's hurt. Like, we all can see it. We all know that he is not 100%. So he's definitely going to have to find a way to muster it up for 10 to 12 more games and just give it all he got, because it's worth it. I think that's the thing. Like, if you win one more for the Lakers, like the value of having that championship or the value of being those guys to get it done, like that's enough motivation to go out and get it done every night. Like, the way your life is going to change if you bring the city another one. Like, if I was those guys, I'd be like, ain't no reason not to, because it's worth it.
That's what I'm saying. I think LeBron still has it. He's still, that foot is still lingering, but he sees blood. So at my age of 38, 39 years old, oh no, we're gonna try to get it now.
Oh, for sure.
we gonna try to get it now. And I think if they able to get it this year and LeBron is able to get healthy and sure up, you might be seeing a back-to-back with this roster. Not knowing what happens in the offseason. This is complete prediction before seeing all the movement, because CP3 might get traded. DeAndre Ayton might get traded. Kyrie might be on the block. Current constructed. This Lakers squad can get back to back with a full season and a full offseason of training camp and health.
I mean, honestly, you're not wrong. I think Denver is the only team that looks stable enough to kind of, like, the Kings are still young. I think, they got punched in the face this year, so they got to go reevaluate. Memphis, I don't even got yeah. So it's like, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong in regards to that. And even the Warriors, like, the Warriors got some questions to answer about that roster, because I think next year, like, between Poole and Thompson alone, that's $71 million on the books. So it's like Draymond can't come back if those two get. So it's a lot of questions to be answered for a lot of teams. And like I said, the whole league is up for grabs. So if AD and LeBron can kind of lock in and figure out their whole situation, I know they're definitely gonna have to pay Reeves. I've seen some projections about, like, his extension, like a $90 million, $80 or $80 million extension, but it's possible. I think they can figure it out. But yeah, they're probably poised to kind of come back and kind of be at the top of the West next year for sure.
Yeah, you gotta pay that man Reeves. We let go Caruso. You gotta pay that man Reeves. Pay that man whatever. Give him a blank check. Pay Reeves. We can't afford to lose Reeves. No.
It's funny though, because, like, in retrospect, like, it was better that you guys didn't end up paying Schroeder, so you guys could pay. So things work out.
Rob Pelinka still got a job. He good. Yo, we appreciate you hopping on. Y'all know the vibes. If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. Bitch mob, we out. Peace.